Guru Kripa Kevalam. Namaste everyone. Very warm welcome to Satsang today. Sadguru Shimuji Baba ki Jai. So, looks like my computer is falling apart. It's not playing any audio properly, so we'll figure it out in the next few days. I'm happy to look at some questions if you have any. You'll have to type them because we won't be able to hear you unless you're in this room. You can ask, of course. And while we wait, something is coming up to say, so maybe I can start with that. Ultimately, it boils down to this. Whether you are happy to just continue with the presumed idea of me, or you're willing to explore this me. This is what it comes down to, at least in the type of satsang that is shared here, is that if you're happy to just presume that there is an individual me and then what's in it for me is natural, or are you willing to explore? Not just actually willing, not just kind of a curiosity, but more like a deeper longing to really find out, who am I? What is going on here? Whose existence is this? Because literally there is nothing here for the presumed me, for your idea of yourself. There is nothing much that I can offer anyway. At best, if we have to say something, I can say that I have a mirror. So suppose you went to the mirror one day and you did not see a reflection. Your first impulse will be what? It will be to doubt the mirror itself, isn't it? But this is not a mirror, it's not working well. You see, because you're expecting to find a reflection, then when you don't see anything, then you start by first doubting the mirror and say, but how can this be? I have always known myself to be something. So how can it be that when you're showing me a mirror, I find nothing? And I'm not mispronouncing nothing. I'm specifically saying nothing. But we'll come to that. You're not nothing. But you are nothing. You are not a thing. If this was true, would you want this truth? If this was true that you are not a thing, Would you want this truth? Or would you rather go back to the presumed idea about yourself? This is the key. And I know every day I come and say this is the key to something else. That's just how it's being said at the moment. If it was true that you were not a thing, do you feel that you will want to align with this truth just because it is true? Or would you prefer just a false idea because it makes you feel comfortable? You see? Because initially this can feel a bit uncomfortable. For some a bit, for some a lot. And for some of you it's already starting to feel natural. So how much burning are you willing to go through for the sake of this truth? Are you willing to burn every single idea that you have if you were to start to find that it is untrue for the sake of the truth? And which idea are you unwilling to give up? Which means, what do you still want to be right about, even if it is contrary to your discovery of the truth? And you can give me some feedback on how I'm sounding. If it sounds too abstract, we'll try to make it more real life examples. If it is fine, it is fine. But I really want you to hear what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you were to come face to face with the truth and you find that there is nothing that you believed about yourself which is true, now that you have come face to face with the truth, you cannot hold on to any idea about yourself. What is your inner attitude about this? Would you still want to hold on to something? Or would you be willing to say, whatever it is, I want to now align just with that which is true? Even if you had the idea for 20 years, 30 years, if it feels like you've always had that idea, are you willing to come to Satsang and to question even these now sacred ideas about yourself? In some ways, this is surrender. In some ways, this is devotion. It can feel like, especially those for whom this kind of Indian culture is a little bit strange, it can feel like devotion means this outward bowing down and touching the feet, you see, or just expressions of devotion like that. But true devotion actually implies a great trust mixed with a great love. A great trust mixed with a great love. Which means that if my master asks me to question even my most sacred idea about myself, I'm willing to question it. So this is what I mean when I'm saying that I have a mirror for you. What does that mean? If I say to you, explore in this moment, in your experience, whether you can find the I that you think you are, the I that wants something, the I that is suffering. Are you willing to explore it and stay true to your direct experience? Or would you exchange this direct experience again with the idea that you have about yourself? So when I ask you to look, you have to look and show me the one that wants anything at all, including freedom. And if you feel like you have found something, then you must say it. If you feel like the body wants freedom, say the body wants freedom. If you feel that there's some other entity here that wants freedom, then say that there is an entity that wants freedom. But no longer can we rest on just a presumption of this one. Because there comes a time that we must be willing to look at this so-called imaginary friend called the ego. A parent will let you play with it for a few years with the hope that you will grow out of it. But there comes a point where a parent will tell the child that it's about time that we look together. And I'm not going to let you presume anymore. So the master is like a parent in this case, who is inviting you and saying, how long will you keep presuming that there is a me like this? When will you look and stay with what you actually find? And don't be scared of any peer pressure. Don't be scared of trying to look enlightened and say that there is no me. Have the integrity to say what really you are finding. If you are looking and if you still feel like, but this is the me, I found the me, then say it. You see? Then let's look together. But don't keep on presuming the me is there, but Ananta won't understand. Or actually, uh, his experience is different. I have not got there yet. Don't use all these ideas to shield the non existent one. Expose yourself Now, I'm not offering a conclusion to you. I'm offering what I find when I look. It must become your exploration. I find when I look that all these perceptions are appearing and disappearing. On the screen of my very existence, I am. And it is this existence which seems to be their creative light. I find that unless I label something, I find no division. What is your experience? So let's take some example. So let's take this. I'm just randomly going to pick out what I'm seeing in the chat. After thinking about my parents, I felt sad at the thought of giving them up. And then a feeling of contraction happened in the chest, an intimate personal feeling. So after thinking about my parents, I felt sad at the thought of giving them up. You see? So if neither of these thoughts had come, you see, then what division would there be? So first, let's suppose that neither of them came. Then let's look at, okay, if they come, then what? Is it? So firstly, if neither of these thoughts appeared at all, then, then we say that this is fine. Mostly you'll say that. If the thoughts had not come at all, then it is fine. So then the trouble then is that what to do once the thought appears. So this satsang or this type of satsang is just about this. What to do, you see, or not do. We'll get into that exploration later. But what to do once this kind of thought comes. My parents, giving them up. So already in the way I'm saying it, I feel like you're getting some idea about where I'm going first. You see, where I'm going first is the inquiry. You see? So where I'm going first is the inquiry, which means that if your temperament is a bit of an explorer, you see, then when the thought comes, oh, what about my parents? Then we inquire into this and say, whose parents are these? Who is this mind who has parents? And it doesn't have to be logical or intellectual, but it's okay sometimes to start like that. You can look and say that little baby that was born has nothing in common with this man that is here. At least physically, every cell is different in this body. So what then remains a constant between that baby that was born and this man that is there? So that one, does it have parents? Is it? Now, we observant of the nature of the mind, that as I'm saying these kind of things, the mind will be quick to pick up the opposite idea. Oh, that, okay, then I have no parents, I can just give them up or something like that. I'm not saying that also. I'm just saying that as we inquire into the nature of this thought, we find that this thought is making a me where there is none. You see? This thought is making a me where there is none. So like that, you see? Then we continue and say, I felt sad at the thought of giving them up. You see? So each aspect of this sentence, the mind is convincing you about this me, like the one that felt sad, the one that has to give up. You see? You see? I did not pick my parents, but now I have to give them up. These kind of things. You see? So this is all misunderstanding. You see? This is how limitation gets created. And in this case, the one that has parents, the one that has to give them up, is which one? That one is the presumed one, exactly the one that I've been talking about, the one that we presume ourselves to be, you see, on the basis of some ideas that we have. So can we actually, like Guruji would say, can we bring this one to the witness box? You see? So this is a beautiful example, very beautiful example. So are we willing to live in the presumption of this one? Especially because these ideas are so intimate and sacred almost. Or are we willing to explore even this? Like giving them up. Who's here that can give up? That must be the same one that picked them in the first place. Is it? So who picked their parents? Is it? Like that. So like that. So when I said that all of satsang is about what to this thought arises. So the first approach is to inquire. Because it is the thought which is, we looked at that so beautifully in this example that before the thought, everything was fine. Even the term fine is just a thought actually, is it? But everything is just what it is. But once a thought comes, then it seems to cause this suffering, this struggle, this resistance. So what to do with that? Firstly, we can inquire and say, which is the me? Who has to pick up and give up? Whose parents? And we don't presume any such me unless we find it. And we can go on with this entire sentence actually. And then a feeling of contraction happened in the chest, an intimate personal feeling. Is it? Now, it is fine as long as it remains phenomenal. Like a feeling came and it seemed to correlate somewhere with this experience of the sensation that we call the chest. And even to go far as this, we can say, okay, intimate. Is it? Although even this we can explore a bit and say intimate, at what distance? How intimate was it? Is it? Then if we start to explore like this, we say it was really intimate. So then how close? 1 inch, 1 centimeter. Is it? Because intimate means that there are two. We are not saying, do we say this computer is very intimate with the space of this room? We don't say that. Why don't we say that? Why don't we say this computer is very intimate with the space of this room? Because there is no duality as far as that is concerned. It is clear that the computer is an appearance in the space. So we don't say it's intimate. But when we insert an idea of me And then the feeling comes. Then it can feel like, oh, this feeling is seemingly strong and it's very close to me. So what is important is this exploration. But the trouble is that we explore the content in great depth. Like the feeling feels like grief, the feeling feels like separation, the feeling feels like joy, the feeling feels happy, the feeling, all these names we've given to all of these feelings because we love exploring that. But that other part of this feeling, which the one that it is close to or intimate with, when we start to explore that, then what happens? Is it? So who is the feeling intimate with? Is it? That is a presumed idea. So when I said, for example, are you willing to look at every idea in a true way and stay with the truth of what you are discovering and willing to throw out every idea based on what you are discovering? Then it's talking about all these aspects because in this one paragraph, there are so many presumptions about me. One is a physical presumption that I am a child of my parents. Then there's a presumption of, what sadness is, the presumption that I can do something, which means give them up or accept them, the presumption that there is a feeling inside the chest, the presumption of distance or intimacy, and then a massive presumption, which is personal feeling. You see, an intimate personal feeling. You see? So, what is that? A personal feeling. Like, can a feeling confirm the existence of a person? It cannot. Mhm. So, this is a beautiful example. Thank you, Mahesh, because in this one paragraph, you can see how it becomes like that web I was talking about yesterday. Mhm. One idea after another idea, and all my limited existence, my desire, my doership, my duality, everything is contained in this one small paragraph. But the beauty of exploration, open exploration, is that you look and say, wow, there is no basis for this, 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 there is no. Really? In three small sentences or two small sentences, so much is presumed. But when we start to look, we say, what is this about? What is going on? Actually, I'm not experiencing any of this. Really? And we are not denying any experience. When I say I'm not experiencing any of this, I don't want anyone to use it just as a concept. You see, you must say this only if that is your experience. You see? I'm not primarily experiencing this me that is just being presumed here. So a lot of the tricks of the mind are being exposed in this one sentence, like intimacy, which means there is some distance between two. Can there be intimacy in one? There cannot be. So there must be one, which is the feeling itself, and two, that which is the experiencer of this feeling, which is like a limited entity, like my feeling. And the mind quickly comes onto that and said, see, therefore it is personal. So we cannot go with any of these inferences now. I'm really spelling it out today because it's important to look at what self-inquiry actually means. It is not just about sitting 20 minutes a day and asking, who am I, who am I, who am I? It is really openly checking, who am I? And everything that the mind says can be used for this exploration. Who is the I at the center of this? Is it? My parents, I felt sad, giving them up. Who can give up or pick up? Then uh, contraction happened in the chest. Do we really know it is in this physical chest? So if I was to get a surgeon here and To do a surgery of the chest, would we find like that contraction? Or actually this level of feelings is a completely different level of existence. But we presume that it is in the chest. Maybe there's a bigger sensational space. You see, within which the chest is another, the physical experience of the chest is just another set of experiences. You see? Like we can say gratitude in my throat, or grief in my heart, or grief in my throat. Is it really physical objects? You see, because the throat, if it is the physical throat we are talking about, can only contain other physical things. You see? So this feeling that we are talking about is not a physical entity. So it can feel like feeling of constriction happened in the chest, but when you start to explore, you say, what is this? There's two set of sensations which seem to intermingle in some way. Is it true that one contains the other? No. From my experience, I can say that in the space of my existence, these two sensations are playing out. This idea of containership, the idea that chest contains sensation of sadness is a notion. But you must not just take these ideas at face value because of what you're hearing from me. You must explore for yourself. What does this actually mean? An intimate personal feeling, especially this personal part that we can explore. So, first part, let me recap for everyone. So what did we say? Before the thought arises, no trouble. So then suffering must be a product of at least the thought having to arise and our belief in it. You see? So what to do with that is what we are exploring. So the first method, if you want to call it that, you see, is the self-inquiry to really explore whose is this, what is it, what do I really know in this situation from my direct experience, you see, and staying true to that rather than inserting a presumption of the ego or inserting the presumption of separation. Now, some would have heard all of this for the last half an hour and said, what is this, man? Is it? Because some are just not, because some are just not inclined to this sort of exploration. This sort of inquiry seems very alien to them. It can feel like, what is Ananta saying? How can I look? What is this? It is so pointless. It is so intellectual. It is so abstract. Actually, it is not intellectual. It's anti-intellectual. You see, whatever I've said so far in Satsang is anti-intellectual because I've said don't go with your intellect for any of these answers. You go with your direct experience. You see, but the mind will label it and say, but this is too intellectual or too abstract. It is anti-intellectual, anti-abstract because I've said stay with your direct experience. Don't intellectualize it. Don't infer it. Stay with what you're truly finding for yourself. You see? But I know that this is the conditioned human conditioning for whom the self-inquiry sounds too intellectual. And it is how it is. So are we to then say, okay, there is no hope? No. You can say, okay, what can you relate with? Do you have some trust in a divine force? Do you have some devotion towards God or to Sadguru or to any even expression form of a master? Do you feel like in your heart some devotion comes naturally to you? And for those, there is another way. And this is the way of surrender. This is the way of surrender, which means all of this is the problem of this divine force. And this faith in the divine power could have come just naturally or could have come with some exploration. When we look back at our life, we just say, it just happened. I decided to do something else, but life took me this way. Life did this to me. You see, life brought me to Satsang. So we see that there's a greater unitive divine presence, really the one that is growing the trees, the one that is making the earth spin, the one that is making light and sound function. And you say, if it is doing all of this, why can't it run this life? This is the path of surrender. Whatever little will we presume we have, we see that it does not compare with this beautiful, enormous, magnificent functioning. So then we come to this point of saying, why do I have to carry this heavy burden of trying to run this life? When life is running itself, or the divine presence, God is running this life. Why do I have to carry it? So those who are inclined to surrender can also look at this when the mind is offering up these problems. And they say, after thinking about my parents, Guru Kripa Kevalam. Is it? God is looking after my parents. God made them my parents. God, we can get a bit mechanical about it, like Maharaj would do sometimes. Like a sperm travel, 1 in a million shot it had, and it reached the egg, and then a body was born. Who did all of this? Who made these so-called people my parents? So that divine force which did all of this is taking care of my parents. I felt sad at the thought of giving them up because, but who is here that is the doer? It is the divine force which will either keep them or give them up, or all positions are being decided by the divine itself, because it is the one that is doing all of this anyway. So who is here that can do anything, including giving them up? So when we explore our thoughts in this way, with a sense of surrender to the divine in our heart, then also then no trouble. No, you don't have to decide to give them up or to stay with them or to any of these positions. Life is doing it. Life has done all of this so far. It is doing it, whatever it is doing. So a sense of devotion, a sense of trust in this, with a sense of surrender, comes to this very simple but beautiful statement that Guruji makes. He says, leave your existence to existence. Leave your existence to existence. Then also you will find that these thoughts do not create the kind of trouble that they would if it is met with a sense of individuality and personal devotion. Now these are the two main parts. And then there are many auxiliary methods that I speak of sometimes, like chanting or mantra or mindfulness or devotional singing or hatha yoga or whatever practices you might have. Then I don't feel too much to go into all of that today, but if somebody is interested, there are many satsangs where this has been shared, and I'm sure Maya can help. If somebody who is new to satsang wants to read some of that, they can find that. But mainly we are talking about inquiry and surrender so that we can come back to our motionless presence, to our motionless existence, which in itself has no suffering, no trouble. So this I feel like was a very beautiful example. Also there was some other chat earlier, so let me quickly look at that. Amaya said that there is feedback which is keep looking and not sure if something is blocking something. Yes, because I was saying, are you willing to look, or are you just willing to presume that there is a need? And I said, give me some feedback about what your experience is. And if I'm misremembering it, then Amaya can correct me. Then she can find out. But that's the way, that's the context in which I'm reading this now. Just keep looking and not sure if something is blocking something. but can't find something that's stuck. Yes. As feeling right about it. Yes. So I said, what are you going to say that I'm right about in spite of not finding it? So she says, I'm keeping on looking and I don't find anything which is stuck in the sense of I'm feeling right about this and unwilling to give it up. What to do if you can't find something? What to do if you can't find something? If you can't find something that is feeling blocked, then it is already good news. Right? Then it is already good news. Just surrender, everything will work. Yes, because then you can look deeper. First is to see that what presumption am I still feeling right about? And if you find that there is no presumption that I'm feeling right about, then we can look deeper into this and say, the I that is aware of this, or we can start even with the sense of perceiving and look at the I that is perceiving, block or no block. Which I is that? Can this be perceived? The I that perceives either blocking or no blocking, can this I be perceived? And if it cannot be perceived, then on what basis do we know this perceiver? If it is not a qualitative, phenomenal experience, then what is it? So then this exploration deepens away from the conceptual blocks into a deeper inquiry, just checking what is truly here. I can find that there is perception of the world. Who is the witness of it? Who is the perceiver of it? And what witnesses even this perceiver? And what kind of witnessing is that? Okay? So then it becomes a very beautiful exploration. If our feeling is to explore like that, otherwise what you said, just surrender everything and it is fine. Yes, even that is fine because as we don't find presumptions there about who we are, and to the mind it seems like there's a I don't know. Even that I don't know is a very beautiful surrendered state, unless we get very attached to, oh, but I just don't know. Is it? So then we can use, then the I don't know applies even to the I don't know. Is it? When the I don't know applies even to the I don't know, then it does not become a sticky position, the I don't know itself. If we don't even know that we know or don't know. So that is a beautiful surrender. And this actually, like I like to say, everything is actually fully apparent to you, but it is not yet uh, translatable in terms of concepts. So we don't know yet conceptually what is apparent, but the truth is completely apparent. And I know some of these words, as they're leaving my mouth, I can already sense that it can sound a bit confusing or again intellectual or conceptual. But again, it is anti-intellectual in a way. You see? I'm fighting in a sense, but I have to just, these are also concepts, but I'm fighting in a sense all the concepts that we might hang on to, which are intellectual. Okay, there is a lot of chat now. Okay. Let me see if I can randomly dive into things, otherwise we'll go one by one. Adrian said, I also like what you said yesterday about the home in the middle of nowhere. Because when Sri Prahlad Tipanya came to our house and had the, the program where he sang a lot of the Kabir words, then I like one thing, and I'm not even sure whether I got the translation right, but I loved it anyway, which is that Kabir said, build a house where nothing can be seen. Then what kind of house would that be? Now build your pillars where nothing can be seen. It's a beautiful thing, and it astounds me sometimes as to how these sages would use such very regular terminology to convey something which is so beyond phenomena. It's almost like a Zen koan. In the way, if I say, Jyotima, build a house where nothing can be seen. It's a beautiful exploration, isn't it? How would you go about it? Where will you go where nothing can be seen? Nothing can be seen. And if you say, okay, I'll go to a very dark place, then I would say that darkness can be seen then. Even in a very dark place, you see darkness. It's not like you see nothing, but nothing can be seen. Where can you go where nothing can be seen? So in the same way, the master is leading you from this idea of very just limiting phenomenal existence to something which is beyond phenomena, which is not a thing. You have to use words like something which is beyond phenomena. Now, in the phenomenal experience, everything is a thing. Everything has size, shape, color, duration. It was born, it dies. Even for this entire world of time and space, we have theories about it. The Big Bang came, and what will happen at the end of the universe. So even this entire world of time and space has duration. It might seem like billions of years, but still in the realm of duration. So everything is a thing here. So a sage could say very simply, build your pillars where nothing is seen. And you might feel like, beautiful, very nice. But if you really jump into that, if you take the sage as your master, you say, my master said, I'm to build my pillars only where nothing can be seen. This itself, one instruction is enough for you. So I don't build any attachments, any pillars in that which comes and goes, in that which is just phenomenal. I'm looking for that to get attached to, where I cannot see anything, not even darkness or light. Beautiful, beautiful exploration. But as I was saying yesterday, if you invite a sage to your inauguration for your housewarming, and he says, oh, this is your place? Okay, come, I show you better. I show you better. And he takes you literally to the middle of nowhere, where you cannot even find up or down, and says, live here. What will your initial reaction be? It will not, most often not be very good because of our sense of investment. We've invested so much in this identity. We've invested so much in being a person. Like all of you, or most of you, will have this idea that you're very truthful. If I call you in and say, you have not spoken a single word of truth in your life, you're the biggest liar I've ever met. See? It'll seem strong, isn't it? It'll seem strong. It will be like, you have not really understood me. I thought you were my master, but it turns out you are another fake. You see, this kind of attack response will come. Because we're so invested in this identity of speaking the truth. I'm a truthful person. You see, but sometimes I lie because it is for the good. But I cannot take it that you call me a liar about everything I've ever said. Is it? Isn't it? So in some way, this is what is happening in Satsang. I'm calling out every lie that you believe, but I'm trying to do it in such a way that you do not feel like it is a full on attack. You see? Because then you will not see it. You will run. You see? So this is what's happening in Satsang. Okay. I'm confronting this house of cards that you have built, but you've invested a lot in this house of cards. So it can feel like, just imagine if you built it like with great care over years. And some of us have kids have built it, and we have siblings. What have you told our siblings when you're building these house of cards? They don't come close, okay? Isn't it? It's like, good, slowly. And the sibling comes at a distance and he's trying to, scare us. And we built a really big one. I don't know how many of you played with cards like this, but here there was a time where it was being built like this for some few days. We built it. And you spent now years, maybe lifetimes, maybe 100 million years. You built this house of cards of identity, lifetime after lifetime, trying to make yourself into God or this house into something that you can actually live in. And now comes this one who's saying, but you just can't write. It looks a bit slanting. It doesn't feel like this is true what you do. And the initial reaction can be, but leave me alone. Or tell me a better house that I can build. If you're seeing these cards are wrong, at least give me new ones. And this is the way that we've renovated this house over lifetime after lifetime and said, okay, now I move to a better concept. I started with one teacher, then I moved to another teacher who gave me better concept. Then I moved to another teacher who gave me better concept. And it feels like I'm helping my life now. Cards are getting better. I'm starting to get a handle. But then you come to some place where they say, oh, none of this is true. None of this is really true. And I don't have a truth that I can tell you to replace this with. Now, this is the struggle part. Because if I tell you you are awareness, you will take that as a concept and use it. If I tell you you are God, you will take that as a concept and use it. But it again becomes a part of your house of cards. You feel like you've replaced the old deck with a better one, with a super gold shiny deck of cards, which is awareness cards. Advaita cards. I used to have personal cards, now I have Advaita cards. So I don't want to give you that. But then what are you left with? Then what are you left with? You are left with your direct insight. You are left with your direct experience. You cannot rely on any concept, even the concepts that you hear in Satsang. It cannot be second-hand information. Only rely on that which you find for yourself. And do you find a meaning? And if you do not find a me, don't be scared of I don't know. If you do not find a me, don't be scared of I don't know. So the house in the middle of nowhere. Other when nothing is labeled, then attention withdraws and I am becomes apparent. Yes. It doesn't always have to function like that also. Attention can be very much part of the functioning of this phenomenal experience, and yet an unlabeled life can happen. Like in the life of a sage, hardly any labels are getting created, and yet it is not that attention is always withdrawn and no perception is happening. Is it? Because perception needs attention. There is no perception without attention. So normal perception, in fact, much more vibrant perception can happen in the life of a sage. So attention can be very intimately with objects. Is it? And yet the unlabeled existence can continue. In a sense, this is what I meant when I said, only after I met my master did I see a flower for the first time, because I was seeing it without the label flower. I only tasted this phenomenal experience for its full vibrancy only after the labeling went away. Otherwise, our attention is dissipated and everything seems blurry. And we can use this to check on our experience right now. So, when I say the Maha Mantra of the mind is what's in it for me, but it says it. So, although this is the Maha Mantra, many times this is misunderstood. It can feel like my mind will just keep saying what's in it for me. It doesn't use that exact terminology. But if you notice the content of your thought, it is always about what am I getting in this? What's in this for me? So as that is happening, are you tasting even this phenomenal experience in its full color? That's why sometimes I say, look at something in front of you in the room, and also try to bring your attention to a thought or bring your attention to an image of a tree. So imagine a tree and keep looking at an object at the same time with full color. You cannot do it. One of those images will become blurry. This is why attention, although is very similar to awareness in a way, in terms of its attributelessness, is different from awareness itself. So although it is true that what I am becomes apparent, does not, for this what I am to become apparent does not require a withdrawal of attention. Even in your tasting of the phenomenal experience in its full vibrancy, what you are is completely apparent to you. Then you say, I can't tell if division ceases or not. Yes, I can. It does. Nothing in the, because there's no actual division that has ever happened. The sense of division is caused only by the labels. Even with our satsang labels of consciousness and awareness. And ultimately, we must throw even these away. So let's look at our very primary division that we have made, even in satsang. We say that there is a body and there is a world. Actually, it is not true. One set of sensations we lump together in one label called body. Another set of sensations we lump together and called it world. You see, there is no actual need in existence to make these clumps. There is no need to clump one set of sensations and call it body, and clump another set of sensations and call it world, or realm, or universe, or something like that. Then in the same way, we've taken another set of sensations and said, oh, this is thoughts, this is memory, this is imagination, let's clump them together and let's call it mind. There is no need to do that in existence itself. Only for conceptual understanding we need to do these groupings. Another set of sensations which is like something is like this, something is like that. Actually, nothing is ever repeated. It can feel like we start labeling, okay, this is sadness, this is happiness, This is joy, this is bliss, this is anxiety, this is grief. So they, okay, all of these sensations, let's put it in a convenient basket, let's call it emotions. There's no reason to do that actually. There is no need. So what has happened is that to make a photocopy for the mind, that which the mind can fathom out of this existence, then we use all of these labels to define that which is undefinable. Because the mind can only fathom limitations, boundaries. So we've created these labels which act as apparent boundaries. And no actual separation or division has really happened. It was not that there was one in the sleep state and now there are two in the waking state. Ultimately, we have to even say that. So no division has actually happened. Yeah.
This absolutely no labels.
Yes.
Can we take an example? So I understand that in a sense there is no person, no mind, it's fine. For example, a very small example, for example, I'm eating something or having a tea or something.
Let's take this drinking water.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm having all these sensations.
Yes.
Thinking, taste,
yes.
or even satisfaction.
Yes.
And if I see another body, then I don't have that satisfaction.
Yes.
Somebody else, some other body is thinking.
Yes.
Then I'm not having satisfaction.
Yes, yes.
So then it is my count that I want to have that. But somebody else is having. These are
this part again, please. So
I see
when you notice another body seeming to drink some water, I don't experience the sensations of the drinking or the quenching of that thirst. You see, or the satisfaction that comes from drinking of the water. Yes, yes.
I may say that I also want to have.
What does it mean? I also want to have water.
Water or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
So those are labels of.
So the experience of watching another body, which is the experience of some sensation which you can call perception.
Yes.
The perception is happening. Is it? And then now you might, another perception might come that we call a thought. Is it? Which might come and say, I want to have that, what he's having. Is it? But even without that perception coming, it is completely possible for water to be had, the sensations of the quenching of the thirst to be experienced. Like, let's take it first very simply. Ask this simple question. You need to know what this is called to drink from it. You need to know what drink means to drink. You don't need to know. So you don't need the label glass for the drinking to happen. You don't need the label drink for drinking to happen. Like a child is born, it knows how to drink milk from its mother's breast, but doesn't know milk, drink, breast, mother, has no such labels. So, like Guruji says, a tree does not know where it's going to grow its next branch, and yet the growing of the branch happens. Presumably, the earth does not know that it has to revolve, and yet revolution is happening. Presumably, a ray of light does not know that it has to move in this way at this speed, and yet it moves in that speed. Same for sound and gravity. So none of this actually knows conceptually, and yet all this movement of perception is happening, isn't it? So this idea that I have to know to run my life presumes so many lies, that there is an individual I whose life this is, and that something can be known. How are you existing now? If you do not know the term, like most of humanity is not bothered over this term existence, but they are existing, presumably. Presumably. Even that we do not know. Is it? But if you have to make that presumption. Like I cannot testify to your existence in a way. So I can testify to the appearance of some perception which seems like what you would call a body. So now you are having a dream. Suppose that you had a dream in which another body was there and it was drinking water. Did that body's thirst got quenched on? First, let's examine the possibility of even such a dream arising. Is it impossible for you to have a dream in which you seem to have this a body that looks just like this, and another body to come in front of you drinking water? Or it is possible, is it? So now that you have woken up from that dream, what would you say about the other body that was drinking water? Does its thirst get quenched?
Depends on the perception.
There.
Yeah.
It means like you say, ha. See, yeah? So, 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 what can we conclusively say that we know in this situation? Undoubtedly. Perceiving is happening. What can we say about the perceiver? Is it? So this is very good. What can we undoubtedly say? You can say, okay, perceiving is happening. Although I don't know whether that's completely undoubtedly, but okay, fine. Perceiving is happening. So what can we say about the one that perceiving belongs to?
Another thing that is perceiving.
What is it which is perceiving? So this is a worthy contemplation. Like when I say for some time, because we spend so much seeming time being concerned with the content of our perception, is it? Why don't we sometimes spend some time focusing on what's on the other end without using any ideas, concepts? Just who's on the other end of perception? And that's what it's going. do some justice to all these chat messages also. So we'll look at that. Dear Father, dearest Father, I have been following the invitation since I went to Sahaja, and it has taken me deeper and deeper into seeing the self. Beautiful. I find such deep, nourishing, beautiful reflections on awareness and isness and being. I have been seeing that awareness is the source of everything internal, and isness is the source of everything external. And that being is. And that being is the oneness that is our home and who we truly are. It's very beautiful, and keep all my blessings for you to immerse deeper and deeper into this invitation. I don't want to micromanage the report in some way, because when you start reading it, there'll be some terminology and things like that. So it's very, very good. It's keep going. Stay with your insight. This is very good. Very good. Awareness is the eye of the eye. That's it. It's from the Upanishad. Awareness is the eye of the eye, ear of the ear, and will in whose presence the mind lands on its objects. So the Kena Upanishad says that. The favorite line for Rahul. Very good. Vidya says, only one thing feels clear. I do not suffer till I pick up some notion. If this is clear, this is already so good. This is already so good. So give yourself full marks for that. Don't have this sense that, oh, this is only one thing, because in this apparent world for most of humanity, even this thing is not clear. This thing itself is a beautiful clarity. I do not suffer till I pick up some notion. Yes. Nivin says, isn't it running this life as me? It is not running this life as me, it is running this life as life itself. And even the notion of meanness is also part of the running. Is it? There's a difference in that, which is an important difference. So, because in the way that it can sound like that it has to run this life as me, it doesn't have to. So, existence playing as I am something, although seems to be the norm in this world, comes to this existence, running this life as existence itself. So in the spiritual traditions, we would call this the moving from the head to the heart, or the switching over, as Guruji would say, of power from person to being. So we can say this person had imagined power, but then it starts to discover the true source of power, which is being itself, which is the life of this life, which is this life itself. Rita said, I can't hear. Ganesh can tell me if it is a problem for everyone or there's something wrong with her connection. Life on earth first prostrates to itself as rotation, and then beautiful concepts, but this concept. I won't read out the name because this question or report is in privately. Father, here on simply seeing, something feels pain, unsettled, just on noticing the body. and that the gender does not match the strong emotional feelings. Both the masculine and feminine are felt separately. This is in my viewing. So see if there's some space for this exploration. Like, in fact, yesterday it came like this where I was saying you can use the term man, you see, but to use even a term man, you have to pick up the entire lexicon, you see, the entire set of language, because man implies so many different terms. You see, and we started looking in one direction, which means a man has more facial hair. Facial hair means face, and hair. Hair means some calcium or whatever the hair is. Something that implies this. Face implies the appearance of this sensation that has a particular shape and size. So explore whether it is possible to have an existence without even these very primary labels of masculine and feminine. Why do we have to separate this being which is genderless and make labels and notions about it and say, okay, this is this way and this is that way? I know it is prevalent. I know it is prevalent in humanity, but just because something is popular doesn't make it true. If it is very popular to believe, funnily enough, it is becoming popular again to believe that the earth is flat. So it is very popular to believe that the earth is flat. And then for a while it lost its popularity, and now somehow it is regaining its popularity. You see? So these notions, although they are popular, doesn't mean that they are true. I don't feel like I can look at any appearance of any human and say this is male or female. Okay? Everything has aspects which are so beyond definition, okay? And change actually from time to time. So do we really need to exist in this moment? Do we really need a definition? But that implies that I am this, or this implies that I am this. Actually, you are, in fact, this is a beautiful exploration, because what is the source of both this and that? It is your very existence. You came to be. You came, I have to play as I am, as being, for there to be even this quality is emerging. What gender are you in your deep sleep? So this is our unchanging reality that which remains in deep sleep. Then all gender, all differentiation, all of this. Now, I'm not saying that, as with everything, I'm not saying that we must take some opposite position. I'm just saying that in our openness, in our acceptance, then we find that in some moments we feel masculine, in some moments we feel feminine, but it is possible for that feelings and those expressions to play out without necessarily they becoming defined. They don't have to define a you. They can just become the play which is happening on the substratum of you. Then you said, this in my viewing, until I don't pick up a thought about the feeling, emotion, it's all okay. Exactly. But something repeatedly feels a disharmony. Is it? Now, let's even explore this term disharmony. Then, so let's suppose disharmony is like this. when you just view it from your neutrality, can you say this is disharmony or harmony? So truly when I'm saying, when we are coming to our notionless existence, is it? When you see it from, when I say the truth becomes apparent, then you will find that I cannot use the term disharmony or harmony for anything. In a way, I can say that when you are aware of disharmony, it becomes harmony. Is it? In a way, I can say that when you are aware of it, then what disharmony can remain. Is it? So, and a feeling comes that maybe it's time to harmonize the body vis-a-vis something, vis-a-vis either this or that. So, if something has to change at a phenomenal level, even that can happen. There is no resistance to that. But this idea that I know what needs to be done and which will solve this, is it, can be the doorway into suffering. So allow this existence to play out how it is playing out, without any need to draw a conclusion that, okay, if this is what I do, then this is how it will be solved. We don't know this for a fact. It's like we don't know anything for a fact. Everything is taking care of itself. The universe, life itself, knows how to deal with everything that it is creating for itself to taste. We don't have to force it. We don't have to feel like the recipe of my life is wrong. The universe is the perfect chef. It is not messing up anybody's recipe. It has not made any mistakes. I stay in the seeing of this, but it keeps popping up. Yes. It will keep popping up. These conditions are designed to keep popping up. And at times it is picked up naturally. Is it? Yes. It can seem like many times conditions will keep getting picked up. I try and not battle it very good, because that itself becomes another position. And simply attempt to stay in the natural viewing and allowing whatever is playing out to play out. However, this can cause a lot of confusion. If you take the resistive element out of it, then you will find that the confusion aspect of it seems to reduce radically. And what is the resistive aspect in this? The feeling that I can fathom this, or the feeling that I can understand and make a framework out of this. So if you are willing to remain in the unknown, then we no longer can call something confusion. If you're willing to remain in the unknown, then what can confuse you? Confusion is just a battle to know. And when something cannot be put in a box, then you can feel like I'm still confused. But if you feel at home in the unknown, then what can confuse you now? So this unknown can sound like the biggest curse at some point, but you discover that it's the greatest blessing. Like I need to know, but nobody can know the truth. Not in that way. That which has opposites can never lead to true clarity. If there is an opposite of confusion, which means that this clarity that we are finding is the opposite of this confusion, then that is not the clarity that I'm talking about. I'm talking about that clarity which is clear about the appearance of either, but it is not participative in that. You see, that truth, which does not have the opposite, which is lies, which is aware of the play of duality, but remains uh, unconcerned in a way about that. So this true knowingness, that is beyond knowing and confusion, is what you are discovering as you allow your mind to remain in the unknown. I don't know, but to me, as these words are emerging, they're sounding very beautiful. Maybe. If you like an answer. One report that I like, it took me 5 months to get over the anger for you, Father. That's a good report because I'm bound to anger and frustrate you from time to time. It's part of my job. I feel when we try to catch hold of awareness as an experience by focusing our attention on self-awareness, fearing that we will lose ourselves, it is an idea. Mind itself seeking assurance that it is awareness itself. Yes, it's a good report. Another good report is, Father, all questions arise and fall in your presence. Thank you, Father. Thank you, my love. Thank you. Beloved Father, I can't stop being, yet I have the choice to raise my consciousness to that prior to being and leave being to being. That is already so. So may I ask then, is it really necessary to be in the heart of being? Forget about this term. Rather rest in the heart of silence. Forget about this term. If the first part of what you said is true, then you don't need these two terms anymore. So, thank you, my love. Wow. It's 12. Yes. Thank you all so much for being in Satsang today. सद्गुरु श्री मुजी बाबा की
जय। सद्गुरु श्री अनंता जी की जय।
गुरु कृपा के बलम